Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into something that I think we can all relate to.
Always. What do we have today?
Let's talk about product recalls.
Okay.
I know we all see those headlines all the time about this or that being pulled off the shelves.
Yeah.
We're not just going to talk about we're going to talk about the WHY.
Okay.
We're digging into a report called Unpacking the Surge: Key Reasons Behind Product Recalls in 2024.
Okay.
So we can understand what's really going on and what you should be aware of as a consumer.
This is great. Yeah. It's fascinating, isn't it? The report doesn't just focus on like a few bad apples.
Right.
It reveals like this systemic increase in recalls
Right.
across the board.
Yeah,
And I think that's a bigger conversation that we need to have.
absolutely. And get this, we're talking about everyday things.
Yeah.
Cantaloupes,
Oh, wow.
chicken taquitos,
Okay.
even cosmetics.
Really?
Who knew your makeup bag could be a hazard zone?
Right. It really underscores how closely our lives are intertwined with all of these products we use every day,
Right.
which makes understanding the recall causes
Yeah.
even more important.
Exactly.
And one of the biggest culprits we're seeing
Yeah.
is contamination with harmful pathogens.
Okay, so when we say pathogens, we're talking about like Salmonella, Listeria.
Right, the usual suspect.
Right, but what surprised me in the report was like where these bacteria are showing up.
Yeah, it's not always where you would expect.
Right.
Take the cantaloupe recall, for example.
Okay.
Modern farming practices, while efficient,
Right.
can create ideal conditions for salmonella spread.
Wow.
If even one melon gets contaminated.
Oh, gosh.
And then there's the pre-cut broccoli recall due to Listeria.
Oh, interesting.
Convenience is great, but those extra steps in processing and packaging
Yeah.
introduce more opportunities for contamination.
It's almost like our quest for convenience is backfiring a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll admit I'm guilty of grabbing those pre-cut veggies myself, but
Mhm.
knowing this, I'm definitely going to think twice about, how those extra steps
Yeah.
impact safety.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about what's in our food, it's also about the things that shouldn't be there at all.
Right.
The report highlighted a bunch of recalls due to undeclared allergens.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge concern,
Right.
especially for people with severe allergies.
Yeah.
And it's not just about intentional additions.
Okay.
Cross-contamination during manufacturing is a major factor.
Wow.
One example that stood out to me was the recall of La Fiesta breadcrumbs
Okay.
for undeclared sesame.
Oh, wow.
With sesame now recognized as a major allergen, this is a huge wake-up call to check.
Yeah.
Even those seemingly harmless ingredients.
Breadcrumbs. It's easy to overlook something like that.
Yeah,
Especially since they're used as an ingredient in other dishes.
Right.
Like, my friend has a sesame allergy, and it's scary how easily something like that could slip by.
Yeah, for sure. And then there was the Colussi Cantuccini chocolate drops recall.
Okay.
Undeclared almonds in that case. Gotcha.
These examples emphasize how important it is to read labels
Yes.
carefully
Right.
every time, especially if you have allergies or are cooking for someone who does.
No more blindly grabbing things off the shelf.
For sure.
Got it.
Yeah,
But it's not just missing allergens. Sometimes it's like straight up foreign objects
Oh, yeah.
that end up in our food.
Definitely.
The report called this foreign material contamination.
Yes. And this goes beyond the occasional hair in your food.
Ew.
We're talking metal fragments, plastic bits, even bone fragments,
Oh my.
and the consequences can be serious.
Okay, like what's the worst of the worst? What did they find?
Well, Best Way Sandwiches, Inc. had to recall thousands of pounds of frozen chicken and cheese taquitos
Wow.
because they were finding metal fragments. And get this, people are reporting dental injuries from biting into them.
The dental injuries.
Yeah.
That takes unpleasant eating experience to a whole new level.
Yeah.
I'm suddenly eyeing my freezer with suspicion.
And it wasn't just metal.
Wegmans recalled frozen chicken nuggets because of possible bone fragments.
So much for convenient weeknight dinner.
Yeah.
But seriously, though, it makes you think twice about all those processed foods.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a quality control issue or just an unfortunate reality of mass production?
It's a complex issue for sure,
Yeah,
but contaminated food isn't the only problem.
right.
Defective components in consumer products
Right.
are also causing a surge in recalls.
Interesting.
And a significant portion of these recalls are happening in the automotive industry.
Cars? You mean like faulty seatbelts and exploding airbags? I always thought those recalls were rare.
Not as rare as you might think.
Really?
The report mentions major manufacturers like Toyota and Mercedes-Benz.
Wow.
issuing recalls for things like faulty airbags, steering problems, and
Yeah.
a whole range of other issues.
Gosh.
It really highlights how complex modern vehicles are these days.
So it's not just budget brands cutting corners then.
Right.
Even high-end cars are vulnerable to these kinds of problems.
It seems so. And the potential impact on safety
Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah.
We're talking about issues that could affect not just the driver, but everyone on the road.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's definitely making me think twice about my next car purchase.
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do to mitigate these risks besides just walking everywhere?
There are definitely steps we can take as consumers, but first let's delve into another area where recalls are on the rise.
Cosmetics.
Cosmetics. Now that's a curveball.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of my makeup bag as like a potential safety hazard.
It's a bit of a hidden danger zone.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing here is that consumer choices are actually playing a role.
What do you mean?
The move away from traditional preservatives like parabens,
Okay.
driven by concerns about their potential health effects,
Right.
has inadvertently led to an increase in contamination.
Wait, so by trying to avoid potentially harmful ingredients,
Yeah.
we've actually made cosmetics more susceptible to contamination.
Yeah, it's a classic case of good intentions leading to unexpected outcomes.
Yeah.
Talk about unintended consequences.
Right. And while the report doesn't call out specific product recalls,
Okay.
it emphasizes the need for consumers to be extra vigilant about checking expiration dates
Right.
and looking for any signs of contamination in their cosmetics.
So basically, we've traded one risk for another. That's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
But what exactly is the deal with parabens? Like, what are they and why are people so worried about them?
Well, parabens are a type of preservative
Okay.
that has been widely used in cosmetics and personal care products for decades.
Okay.
They're effective at preventing the growth of bacteria and mold,
Right.
which helps extend the shelf life of products.
Okay, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. But concerns arose when the studies suggested that parabens might have estrogenic activity,
Okay.
meaning they could potentially disrupt hormonal balance in the body.
So that's the concern,
Right.
potential hormonal disruption.
Well-
And I'm guessing that's why consumers started pushing for like paraben-free products.
Exactly. Consumer demand for natural and clean beauty products has skyrocketed in recent years,
Right.
and many brands have responded by removing parabens from their formulations.
Okay.
But as we are seeing, this shift has created a new set of challenges.
Right.
Without parabens, cosmetic products become more susceptible to microbial contamination,
Yeah.
which can lead to spoilage
Okay.
and even pose health risks to consumers.
It's a tricky situation.
It is.
On the one hand, we want to avoid potentially harmful ingredients.
Right?
On the other hand, we don't want to increase the risk of contamination.
Yeah.
So what's the solution?
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Yeah.
But the key takeaway here is that we need to be informed consumers.
Right.
We need to understand the trade-offs involved in our choices
Yeah.
and make decisions that align with our values and priorities.
I think that's a great place to pause for now.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
From contaminated cantaloupes to paraben-free cosmetics.
A lot to unpack there.
But stay tuned, because in the next part, we're going to discuss what all this means for you as a consumer and how you can navigate this complex landscape
Okay.
safely and effectively.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back. Okay, so we've uncovered some pretty unsettling trends with these product recalls.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed, like, is everything a potential hazard?
Right.
So what do we do with all this information?
Yeah. That's the question, isn't it?
How do we navigate this without, like, freaking out every time we go to the grocery store?
I hear you. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But remember,
Yeah.
knowledge is power.
Okay.
Instead of panicking, let's focus on what we can control. As consumers, we have a responsibility to stay informed
Right.
and be proactive about our choices.
Okay, so proactive, not panicked. Got it. But what does that look like in practice? Are we talking about becoming hardcore label readers, constantly checking for recall notices, inspecting every bite of food?
It's about finding a balance, being aware without becoming obsessive.
Right.
Honestly, just understanding the common causes of recalls that we've talked about today
Yeah.
is a huge step.
Right.
It helps you make more informed choices.
Right. So if I'm grabbing a pre-made salad, I might think twice about the Listeria risk.
Exactly.
Or if I'm browsing cosmetics, I'll definitely be checking those expiration dates,
yes,
watching for changes in the product.
absolutely. And
Right.
remember, recalls happen all the time.
Right.
It's not about avoiding certain products altogether,
Okay.
but about being informed.
Right.
Go beyond those attention-grabbing headlines.
Yeah, those can be scary.
And check reliable sources, like the FDA website,
Okay.
for detailed information on specific recalls.
Good point. Those headlines can be pretty dramatic.
They can be.
It's like they're trying to scare us into never eating again.
Right.
But seriously, getting the facts from a reliable source is key.
For sure.
So, informed choices, checking for recall notices. What else can we do to protect ourselves?
Don't underestimate the power of your own senses.
What do you mean?
If something seems off about a product,
Okay.
a strange smell, texture, or taste,
Right.
don't ignore it.
Okay.
Trust your instincts and report it to the manufacturer or retailer.
You know, I've definitely had that moment where something tastes a little off.
Yeah.
But I convince myself it's probably fine.
Right.
Like that time I ate yogurt that was a week past its expiration date.
Oh.
Not my proudest moment.
But you're right.
Yeah.
It's better to err on the side of caution.
Absolutely. You're the best judge of what's normal for the products that you use.
And remember, your feedback can help improve product safety for everyone.
Right, that's true.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
don't underestimate the power of collective action.
What do you mean?
If you're concerned about a particular product or issue,
Okay.
reach out to consumer advocacy groups
Right.
or contact your elected officials.
Right, because ultimately, manufacturers and regulators need to be held accountable
Exactly.
for ensuring product safety.
Yeah.
But as consumers, we have a voice.
We do.
We can push for change and demand better standards.
Right.
It's a combination of individual awareness and collective action.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that we're not just passive consumers,
Right.
but active participants in the marketplace.
Yes.
Our choices, our voices, and our actions can make a difference.
I like that.
Think about it this way.
Yeah.
Every time you choose a product,
Okay.
you're casting a vote for the kind of manufacturing practices you support.
That's a powerful way to look at it.
It is.
It's not just about buying a jar of peanut butter.
Right.
It's about supporting a company that prioritizes safety and transparency.
And remember,
Yeah.
this isn't about living in fear or avoiding all products.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the risks,
Yeah.
making informed decisions, and advocating for a safer consumer landscape for everyone.
Yeah.
We have the power to shape the marketplace
Right.
and demand better from the companies we support.
It's a shift in mindset, really.
It is.
From feeling helpless to feeling empowered.
Exactly.
I have to admit, I was feeling pretty overwhelmed by all the recall information when we started this deep dive.
Right.
But now I'm feeling more informed.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can actually do something to protect myself and my family.
That's great.
And maybe even make a difference in the bigger picture.
That's exactly what I hoped you'd take away from this.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, and with power comes responsibility. Now that you know the common causes of recalls and the steps you can take to stay safe,
Right.
how will you apply this knowledge in your own life?
Yeah.
What resonated with you the most?
That's a great question. For me, I think the biggest takeaway is the importance of being an informed consumer.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be paying closer attention to labels, checking for recall notices,
Okay.
and trusting my gut if something seems off about a product.
Okay.
But beyond that, I'm going to be thinking more critically about the companies I support and whether their practices align with my values.
Right.
It's not just about buying the cheapest or most convenient option anymore.
That's a fantastic insight.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day hustle
Right.
and just grab whatever's easiest.
Yeah.
But taking a step back and considering the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the ethics behind our choices
Right.
can make a world of difference.
And I think that's a perfect segue into the final part of our deep dive where we'll explore those bigger questions
Right.
and leave you with some food for thought.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day of all this stuff,
Yeah.
but before we wrap up,
Mm-hmm.
let's take a step back and think about the bigger picture here.
Yeah. It's important to remember that recalls are just one symptom
Right?
of a larger system.
Okay.
They're a snapshot of the complexities
Yeah.
and challenges we face
Right.
in our modern consumer landscape.
Right. It's not just about avoiding like a bad batch of chicken nuggets or something.
Well-
It's about understanding the systems that produce those nuggets in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that leads us to an important question.
Okay.
for you to consider.
Okay.
How do your consumption habits align with your values?
That's a good question.
Are you supporting companies
Yeah.
that prioritize safety and transparency?
That's a really thought-provoking question.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in convenience and price,
Right.
but we often overlook the ethical implications of our choices.
Think about it.
Okay.
Every purchase is a vote.
Okay.
You're voting for a particular company,
Mm-hmm.
their manufacturing practices,
Right.
their commitment to quality and safety.
Yeah.
And ultimately,
Yeah.
you're voting for the kind of world you want to live in.
Wow, that's a powerful way to frame it.
It is.
It makes you realize that as consumers,
Yeah.
we have more power than we think. We can shape the market by choosing to support
Absolutely.
companies that align with our values.
Absolutely. And that can mean supporting companies that are transparent about their sourcing, their manufacturing processes,
Mm-hmm.
that are responsive to consumer concerns,
Right.
and that prioritize ethical and sustainable practices.
It's about looking beyond just the product itself.
Yes.
And considering the entire supply chain,
The whole thing.
the impact on workers, the environment, ultimately our own health and well-being.
Yeah, exactly. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness
Yeah.
and making choices that benefit not just ourselves,
Right.
but the entire ecosystem.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of product recalls, I think the key takeaway is this.
What's that?
Knowledge is power.
It is.
By understanding the common causes of recalls,
Right.
staying informed,
Yes.
making conscious choices,
Absolutely.
we can navigate this complex landscape safely and effectively.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And remember, it's not about living in fear,
Right.
avoiding all products.
Yeah.
It's about being informed,
Mm-hmm.
being proactive,
Yeah.
and using your purchasing power to create a safer
Right.
and more sustainable marketplace for everyone.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the nitty-gritty details of specific recalls to the broader philosophical implications of our choices.
For sure.
Hopefully you're feeling more informed and empowered, ready to make a difference in your own life and in the world.
That's what we like to hear.
Be sure to check out the show notes for links to all the resources that we've mentioned.
Yes, good idea.
And if you found this deep dive helpful, don't forget to share it with your friends and family.
Spread the word.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.